Hello, everyone. We'll give everyone a minute to get connected to audio, and then we'll get started. I hope you're having a good, whatever part of the day it is for you right now. For us, it's 9 a.m. in the morning. We're really excited to talk to you today about housing and student life. But before we get into too much, if you guys haven't been to any of these pre-arrival webinars before, we want to do some introductions so you know kind of who's behind the email that you guys have been sending emails to and who's been processing your application. So my name is Sarah Boro and I am the incoming exchange student coordinator. And I work very closely with Sarah, who's been doing a lot of the legwork and answering a lot of your emails. Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hey everyone, my name is Sarah Phillips. I am the graduate assistant here at the Study Abroad office. So that means I'm also a student. I've enjoyed getting your emails and starting to talk to everyone. And we're excited for the webinar today.
And if you guys want to, just so we know who else is here, if you want to introduce yourselves in the chat, maybe name and home university, if there's anything you're excited about coming to NC State, I'd love to see who's here. So. All right. So just to give you a sense of what we'll be talking about today, is really just about housing and campus life. And at the end, we'll take questions about anything that you guys have questions about. But during the webinar, if we can keep to questions regarding housing specifically, we'll leave time at the end. We'll turn off the recording and then we'll answer any questions that you might have. During the webinar, if you have a question, you can feel free to raise your hand or send it in the chat. Sometimes if there's a lot of questions, we might miss something. And so at the end, if we haven't gotten to your question, that's a good time to unmute and say, hey, just so you know, this is what I had a question about. But yeah, so we're going to go over some of the different housing options, both on campus and off campus, go over the housing application process for on-campus housing. And then Sarah's going to talk a little bit about, what campus is like, what sort of things there are to do once you get to NC State, and what to expect during arrival and orientation. So to get into the different types of housing options, there's a lot. It can be a little bit overwhelming. Maybe there's a lot more different types of housing than you're used to, maybe at your home university. But they're basically broken down into two different types of housing. There's residence halls, and then there's on-campus apartments. But there's a lot of different types of residence halls. So I kind of wanted to go over what each of those mean. So you have your traditional hall style, and these names below are the different residence halls that have this type of setup. But this is the very traditional American college dorm living life that you may have seen in the movies. So, there'll be rooms on a floor and then a common bathroom that everyone shares. So it's very, very communal. You'll have a roommate in your room with you. Sometimes there's single rooms available. I don't know, Sarah, if you can chime in, if there's any triple rooms in the residence halls.
Very few, and that's just because of architecture things, not because people want triple rooms.
I actually lived in a triple my freshman year, so I had 2 roommates in a residence hall, the shared bathroom. It's a lot of fun, but we'll talk more. Alexander is the building where the Global Village is, and so that is this type of setup, a very communal style of living, and we'll talk more about the Global Village in Alexander in a couple of slides. The next type of housing option is called suite style. So the ones you'll see listed here, Bowman, Braga, Carroll, etc., are set up in suites. And so there will be a shared bathroom, but only with like 4 different rooms sharing that one bathroom. So still a little bit of communal living, but you're sharing, a bathroom and common spaces with a lot fewer people than you would in the traditional hall style. And then Sarah, can you remind me, with the suite style, are there like 2 people in each of the 4 rooms that share the bathroom? So that sort of setup. And then there might be different amounts of rooms sharing that bathroom, but that's kind of the idea, is that several rooms are sharing a more private setup of a bathroom. And then hotel style is what it sounds like if you've been to a hotel. You just have your room with your roommate, and then you have your own bathroom between you. And Avent Ferry and North, these two buildings are set up like kind of a motel style. So your room exits directly outside. Is that correct, Sarah? So that's kind of a unique, and they actually are set up hotel style because they used to be hotels, and that's why they're set up that way. Those are kind of the general types of residence halls that you'll see on campus. And so really it's just about how many people are you sharing a room with, how many people are you sharing a bathroom with, is how these are set up. And then some of them are a little bit older, some are newer. That sort of thing can kind of be a little bit different, and then where they're located on campus. You can look at campus map, look at where your classes are, and maybe, put your preference for one. But keep in mind that housing is pretty limited on campus, so you may or may not get your top choice. We have worked closely with our housing department to make sure that our incoming students are housed, but we can't guarantee that you'll get your number one choice. And so it's important to kind of think through what are your top choices, and I think you'll get to rank those in the application as well. And so I'll be sending out these slides, and I've linked here to the housing website where you can go to find more information. You can look at layouts of all these different buildings, things like that. So one of the residence halls options is the Global Village, and this is actually where a majority of exchange students are going to be housed. We've worked with the Global Village to save 45 spaces for incoming exchange students in the fall. Villages, there's lots of different villages, so you'll see when you get into the housing application that you can select from a lot of different ones. These are mostly set up for first year students, but Global Village is a great option for that's specifically open to exchange students. So you can try to put, if you're interested in another village, you can put that down. They may just not have as many spaces saved for non-freshmen, non-first year students. But the Global Village and all the villages are living and learning communities, so they always have a theme. Some of them are, entrepreneurs, engineers, different things like that. Global Village, as it sounds, is about people who are interested in learning more about the world around them. And so they want to have a good mix of domestic and international students. And then for those 45 incoming students that are placed here, some of you will be paired with a US roommate, but then just because of how it works out with returning students, some of you will be paired with other exchange students, but you're still going to have that communal living. They have a really, really welcoming environment, and they do lots of different activities. So you can see here some of the pictures. They do lots of, like food events. I think they did like a Thanksgiving event where people got together and cooked. They'll invite different student groups in to join them. But I think they usually have at least a couple of different events each month. And a really nice thing about Alexander Hall, it's very centrally located on the campus, very close to our student union and the rec center. So that's really nice for students who want to take advantage of some of those resources. Student health is really close as well. Our office is really, really close to Alexander Hall. So I think that's another benefit of this particular location. But if this is something you're interested in, definitely put that as your number one preference on the housing application. So yeah, does anyone have questions about residence halls that I've gone over so far? Okay. The other type of on-campus housing are on-campus apartments. And so we've got 3 different apartment complexes on campus. So Wolf Ridge, Wolf Village, and ES King. Wolf Ridge is located on our Centennial campus. So unless you're an engineering student, your classes will most likely be on our, I forget the names of them, Sarah, North Campus?
Just main campus, yeah.
Main campus.
So it's also textiles, engineering, and then some computer science will also be on Centennial.
Okay. Yeah. But even if you live on Centennial campus and most of your classes are on main campus, that's totally fine. There's shuttles that go all throughout campus that run very regularly. So as long as you're on campus, you will not have trouble getting to whatever location your classes are. You may just take a bus to get there. So there's different layouts with these two. As you can see, I just kind of put in a floor plan, but this is, what it sounds like an apartment. So everyone in your apartment, you'll have your own room with a desk, dresser, bed, things like that. But then you'll have a common kitchen and living room area. So this is the difference of a residence hall. There isn't really a communal kitchen area where you can do your own cooking. Global Village does have a really nice kitchen in the basement that they use for a lot of their events, but most residence halls don't really have a good place, like if you want to cook for yourself. So most students who live in the residence halls will go and get a meal plan to eat in the dining halls on campus. But if you really like the idea of maybe a little bit more independent living, you want to be able to cook for yourself, then on-campus apartments can be a really good option. But yeah, as it sounds, it's an apartment. It's probably a little bit more like what the housing situation is for many students at your home university and what you're used to. So those are kind of the two main options. And obviously there's a ton of housing because we have a lot of students. And so there's different floor layouts for each of these. There will be slight differences, but overall that's kind of what you're looking at when you're thinking of on-campus housing. So if you want to live on campus, you'll apply. Let's just go ahead and click this link. So this again has information about the different options. You'll apply in your MyPack portal. So you're not going to be able to apply for on-campus housing until we send you your student ID and password. So for those of you, we've sent our first batch out. I think we'll be ready to send our second batch out soon. But the sooner you answer Sarah's emails asking for different parts of your incomplete application, the sooner we'll get you your student ID, the sooner you'll be able to apply for on-campus housing. But as I've mentioned, we've saved some spots for incoming exchange students. So as long as you apply by May 1st, you'll have good consideration for living on campus if that's what you want. So they have information here about applying. The village application is separate. There are some questions that you'll have to answer. Oops. If you are interested in living in Global Village, so why are you interested and what do you plan to accomplish through your village experience? But if you live in just regular residence halls or on-campus apartments, you will not have to answer those questions. But yes, you'll apply in MyPack. If you have a roommate preference and you want to live in Global Village, you both have to request it. This is for anywhere on campus. If you want to live together, you both have to request to live with each other. Otherwise, you'll be randomly assigned roommates. And you'll, for the village, receive acceptance mid-May for on-campus other options. I think they do those in batches. So you might also find out in mid-May if you apply by May 1st. It might be a little bit later. I wouldn't worry too much, but just try to apply by May 1st. And then housing assignments might not be released until June. Any questions about on-campus housing? Okay. The other option for living is to live off campus. So this is definitely possible, and honestly, in the past, due to limited housing on campus, a lot of exchange students have had to live off campus. However, it is a little bit more challenging to find. There are different options, so you can go and get an apartment or a house. You can, a question came through about where can we find the costs for each type. On the housing website on the link that I just showed you, it'll have all of the different costs for the options on campus. Off campus is going to vary widely. So you can either, rent a room in someone's house, or you can rent an apartment. A lot of times if you're looking for an apartment or a house, you have to get together everyone to fill that apartment. You don't just apply as an individual. Sometimes they'll allow you to do that, but a lot of times you have to make sure that you have people to fill the apartment. You have to sign the lease together. NC State has an off-campus housing website where they have linked to some recommended housing options. And they'll kind of go over where they're located. There's also apartments.com or Zillow that offer different ways to search for apartments. But if you are planning to live off campus, I definitely want you to consider some of these things down below. Think through how far that off-campus housing option is from campus. So as I mentioned, no matter where you are on campus, we have our Wolf line, which is the bus that runs around, that runs very regularly, and you can kind of count on that. There is public transportation, a bus system throughout all of Raleigh, but it's not always as reliable. Depending on where you live, there might be only one bus per hour, and that bus may or may not come on time. So if you're relying on that to get to classes, it can be kind of challenging. And so if you can look for something that's a little bit closer to campus, or thinking through a place that might have more frequent buses to campus, some apartment complexes off campus will have a shuttle that will drive students from the apartment complex to campus. So that's something to think about. Also, an important thing to think about is the length of the lease. And so a lot of leases for off campus are going to be an entire year. So maybe August 1st to July 31st. And so you're paying for that entire time unless you can find someone to sublease or take over your lease before you leave. But if you're only here for one semester, on-campus housing is just a lot easier because you don't have to worry about that. The lease is the length of the semester, and so you don't have to worry about paying for when you're not going to be here. So that's really, really important. How to find roommates. So as I mentioned, with a lot of off-campus housing, you might have to find roommates and other people to live with before you can sign a lease. And then a very important thing is whether or not the apartment has furniture. So all of our on-campus housing options are going to have a bed, desk, a place to put your clothes. A lot of off-campus apartments are not going to have a single piece of furniture in them. And so there's places that you can go to buy used furniture, but especially if you're only here for one semester, do you really want to go into looking at buying a bed, a couch, everything like that? And so it's really important to look at to see if the apartment is furnished or not. Looks like a question came through. If we apply for on-campus housing, what are the dates that the residence halls open and close? When's the first time you can get there, and when's the last day that you can leave the room? Yes, that's a good question. So on-campus housing will open up the Wednesday before classes start, which is also the arrival date for incoming students. And then as far as checking out of housing, I believe it's usually the Saturday after classes end. Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong.
So you have until commencement, technically, which would be May 6th or 7th. No, I'm sorry, we're in December. It would be like December 16th, but usually students are kind of expected to leave after they're done with exams. But since you are exchange students and you're here the whole semester, usually it will go until that December 16th date of our university commencement.
How would you recommend finding roommates for off-campus housing? So maybe we should start this now. We usually have a WhatsApp group for exchange students, so we will actually start that now so that you guys can all get to know each other. But that would be a good way to meet other exchange students who might want to live off campus. Otherwise, honestly, there's a lot of Facebook groups like NCSU off-campus housing, I think, is one where people will just post like, hey, we're 2 roommates, we're looking for a 3rd roommate to live with. So that's another way to find housing or to find roommates for off campus, or if you know other students from your home university. I know we have some universities where we'll have 15 students come, and so you might be able to find other students to live with that way. Is there any kitchen equipment provided by any of the on-campus accommodations? So I know for Global Village, they have kitchen equipment that they'll let you rent out that you can use to cook while you're in the village. If you live in an on-campus apartment, no, right, Sarah? But you might live with American roommates who already have all that stuff. But no, they will come with furniture, but not plates, dishes, pots, pans, things like that. So again, there are different places you can go to buy, used pots and pans that's a little bit more affordable to buy, or you might have roommates who already have all that stuff. Or if you're living with exchange students, maybe you can all go in together and decide, okay, you buy this, or buy it all together, divide the costs. But yes, no, they do not come with kitchen supplies, and most off-campus apartments would not either. I think it would be pretty rare to find a place that would come with kitchen supplies unless your roommate who is already there has it.
And that's a
Okay.
reason that a lot of on-campus students will get the meal plan, is because you can go to the dining hall or any of our on-campus dining options and eat there. You don't have to cook for yourself if you're in an on-campus residence. They kind of expect you to do the dining options on campus.
Yeah, that's more for the on-campus apartments that you would cook for yourself. But in the residence halls, honestly, unless you're in Alexander, I don't think many of them even have a place to cook at all. So you don't really have that option. And then, you would want to get a meal plan. With on-campus housing, how are roommates selected? As a girl, I would like to be partnered up with another girl. Yes, it's gender, based on gender. So there are some residence halls where like the whole floor will be all female or all male, but you will not be placed with a roommate of a different gender. But other than that, I think for on-campus housing, you fill out a questionnaire that helps them place you with a roommate. So they're really trying to make sure that not only is it just like, okay, you're the same gender, but do you have similar sleep habits? Do you go out? Do you like to stay in more? Different things like that. So you'll answer some questions and that'll help them place you if you don't already have a roommate that you want to live with. They'll help get you a roommate that's at least hopefully going to be compatible. Some guys at my university stayed at University Towers. It would be recommended. That's actually now on-campus housing. I've mentioned before that we've got very limited housing, so much so that the university is actually taking over University Towers. So I don't exactly know how that's going to look in the housing application portal, but University Towers is now going to be an on-campus housing option. But that was a very good off-campus housing option that almost half of our exchange students ended up living in last year. It's very centrally located. So I guess I didn't have that on the slide, and it's because it's very new and I don't even know that the university is publishing that information yet. But that will be one of the options for on campus. And it may just be that they place students there. I don't know that that will be an option you'll be able to select, since it is so brand new that this is an option for students. How do the different meal plans work? Sarah, I'll let you take that one because I'm not super familiar with meal plans.
Yeah, this could honestly be something that we have a whole nother presentation on. So the different meal plans on campus, you kind of choose your meal plan based off how much you expect you're going to be eating. And I know that sounds strange, but we have dining halls here on campus. We have 3 dining halls, and that is where you swipe in with a meal plan, and then it's basically all you can eat with that one meal plan, or with that one swipe. So it's buffet style, so you would go and get your food, and then you can eat as much as you want. So that is a dining hall. We also have restaurants on campus that you can like you would just go and get one meal. So in our student union, and then we have an atrium on campus that is just it's a meal swipe. So it's not a dining hall swipe, but you just swipe for the one meal. I'm sorry if I'm not articulating this well, it's kind of complicated. But the different meal plans have different numbers of dining hall swipes, meal swipes at the restaurants, and then what's called dining dollars. So that's can be used like if you want to get a coffee, or if you want to get ice cream, or a snack from one of the markets on campus. So each of the meal plans have different numbers of what you think you're going to want. And Sarah's showing it. You can see that like the Block 20 plan has 20 dining hall meals and then 140 dining dollars. And this is for like a very short amount of time. So your first semester, it would be a lot longer and a lot more.
Well, these are summer 23 plans.
Yeah. But for fall, you're going to get like 500 or, you know, there's different plans based off what you think you're going to eat, what type of meals you think you're going to want throughout the day. Like if you're not a breakfast person and you'd rather just have a bar in your room on the go, I would maybe lessen your meals since you're not going to have breakfast in a dining hall every day. So everyone has that link. I would go look at the website, see if you understand. If you have any questions, feel free to email us and we can try to explain it better. But it's basically what you think you will eat. And another thing is that you have a few weeks into the semester to adjust your plan, which is really nice because if you're not using or you need more or you need less, you can adjust your meal plan throughout the semester. And that's really nice.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. So it looks like these flex plans, the 500 and 800, offer all access dining hall. That's throughout the whole semester. So you can go into the dining hall as many times as you want, if I'm understanding correctly. So if you just want to go in, swipe in, grab a banana, like leave, it's not going to matter because you can go in there as many times as you want throughout the semester. And then you have these dining dollars, which Sarah was mentioning you can use at some of the different restaurants, and like there's Chick-fil-A, different like chains at restaurants on campus. So you can use it for Starbucks to get a coffee, different things like that. Is the dining hall accessible every day of the week?
Yes. On the weekends, the hours might differ slightly. But you're still going to be able to eat at the dining hall every day of the week. So, yeah. And honestly, if you are living in on-campus housing and you are in somewhere that's close to dining halls, I would really recommend doing the dining hall. As a student who has lived on and off campus, sometimes the whole cooking during the week thing is kind of gets put on the back burner, or you just put it off, and the dining hall is a really great option for students.
And we have another question about where you find information about University Towers. You could Google University Towers now, and I'm curious what it would say. I don't think there's a lot of information since it is being taken over by the university. Like, I'm sure that you can't sign a lease now for University Towers for the fall. It would just be through the on-campus housing website, but I don't think they have it there yet. Just because, like I said, it's a very new thing that the university is taking over University Towers. So I don't even know if you'll be able to select that, but we can find out and we can email out to you guys how that'll work if that is your top choice of housing option for the fall. All right, I'm going to pass.
There is one more question. How much demand is there typically for apartment style on-campus housing for Wolf Ridge or Wolf Village? That differs by the year. This past year we had our current students here right now. There's a lot of them in Wolf Ridge and Wolf Village. Just because of the demand for on-campus housing, a lot of our students were put in the apartments. I would say if you put that as your top choice, that like there's a lot of rooms in Wolf Village and Wolf Ridge. You might not get to choose roommates, but I would say it's like a pretty good chance of getting into them.
Yeah, so I will say one of the reasons that on-campus housing is so limited is because we have a first year live-on requirement. So all incoming freshman students have to live on campus, and freshmen aren't allowed to live in the apartments. Am I correct, Sarah? So they're taking up a lot of the residence halls. And so there may be more spots in the apartments, but again, there's no guarantees of where you'll be placed. But definitely recommend applying, because finding off-campus housing, there are a lot of challenges, like I said. And if you're like, I'm interested in this off-campus housing option, but I just want to know, like, is this a good area? What's it like getting to campus from there? You can send that to Sarah and I. We're not going to be able to help you, find everything and do everything. But if you just want to run by us, like, is this location okay? Have you heard of this apartment complex before? We can definitely take a look, but there are so many options. We are not familiar with all of them, and we can't guarantee for sure any of them are good, but living on campus, we can guarantee that it is a good option for students. And so definitely take some time to look through the options before you complete the housing website, especially for those of you who don't have your student IDs yet. You can do a lot of research now to figure out, once you can apply for housing, where you want to go and what your top choices are going to be. So feel free to continue asking questions in the chat, but I'm going to pass it over to Sarah, who's going to talk about campus life and arrival and orientation.
Yeah, so y'all are coming at an exciting time. Everything is opening up again after COVID. Our fall semester is very full of activities. So I have said this every orientation: if there is something you want to do or get involved in, it is probably here, and there's probably a club for it. If you love chess, there's probably a chess club. So at the very beginning of the semester, there are a lot of involvement fairs that you can go and meet all of the different students, and they will have booths and tables out promoting their organization and what they do. That's a great way to get involved. There's websites with different clubs. The student involvement website has a list of all the on-campus clubs or organizations, and we'll share that out with you, and you could look at it at orientation. And there's also centers on campus for different identity groups. So we have different cultural centers on campus. We have the LGBT Center, the Women's Center, African American Center. There's a lot of different ways to get involved, whether it's based on your activities, identities, and or your major. They have different clubs based off your academic interests as well. So when you
realize I forgot to update this winter welcome week and winter and spring sports, but
so when you get here, there's going to be a lot going on. We have what's called the Wolfpack Welcome Week. So what you see here in the top left picture, that is our bell tower. So one of the first weekends once you get here is called Packapalooza. Our entire street next to our campus shuts down, and it's just a huge festival and just a welcome party for everyone coming. This is a great way to get involved while you're coming to campus. There's just so much going on. You'll meet so many people. It's a really, really fun time. So we also have a lot of athletics going on in the fall. A lot of our students love the fall because it's football season, and I mean American football. It's just a really cool way to see the university and see what American football is all about if you've never seen a game. So there's truly a lot to do on campus, and at orientation we'll talk more about kind of trying to find a place and navigating your way through it. But does anyone have any questions about getting involved on campus or campus life or anything like that?
Oh, and the top right picture is called the Krispy Kreme Challenge. And that happens in the spring semester. So if you're going to be here for the academic year, you can participate. But basically, you run a mile each way, I think. And once you get to the Krispy Kreme location, you eat 12 donuts, and then you run back another mile. So if you enjoy being extremely uncomfortable and while running, that could be a fun event to check out. But Krispy Kremes are from North Carolina, right, Sarah? So that is why. we do
Yeah,
that.
this was a huge hit. When I explained it at our spring orientation, I think we had a few exchange students do it. And it is actually longer. I think it's a 5K. So it's just an NC State tradition. It's a fundraising event. It's strange, but it's so cool and it's fun. But moving on, NC State is in Raleigh, North Carolina. You can see that on the map. We are the capital of North Carolina. Raleigh is located in Wake County, which has about 1 million people. So this is a large area. I will say one of the coolest things about Raleigh is that you can be in the city surrounded by a lot of people and then go outside of the city in about 10 minutes and you're in a nature park and it feels like you are just surrounded by nature and there's no one around. So there's a lot of really cool things to do and ways to connect with the city. We are also really close to Durham and Chapel Hill, which makes up the Research Triangle Park. Or we're called the Triangle because of Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill. But this is a really cool area. There's so much to do. There's shopping and a lot of cool restaurants and parks and museums. We got a question. Is it possible to go skiing or Raleigh, or is it close to it? So we are in the middle of North Carolina. So we are about 3 hours away from the Appalachian Mountains. There are many places to ski in the mountains. You would need to figure out transportation, maybe renting a car to go to the mountains, but it would be kind of close compared to a lot of other places. But we are about 2 to 3 hours from the beach as well. So either way you want to go, it's really cool. We're in a cool location. You are a few hours from the beach or a few hours from the mountains, and you can go skiing in the winter or see the beautiful leaves in the fall. It's known for our leaves in the fall are just known for all the changing colors. We had some students last semester ago and they just thought it was so beautiful.
We're also, yeah, there's some different options. So we've got the Raleigh-Durham International Airport, which we'll talk about. That's where we would recommend flying into. So you can fly and go lots of different places in the US, but we also have a train. So you can take the train to Washington, DC in about 4 hours. If that's somewhere you wanted to visit, there's also buses that go to a lot of different places. So there's definitely lots of different things you can do in and around this area, this part of the country. I came from Kansas, which is right in the middle here, and it's a lot farther to go and do anything. And so for me, I feel like there's so much and it's so close, but it may be farther than you're used to if you're from a smaller country where you can get everywhere in like a couple of hours. There's a ton to do all over. But for me, I find that it's really nice. There's so much that you can access within just a couple hours of Raleigh.
Yeah, so speaking of arrival, our international airport, Raleigh-Durham, is about 15 miles from here. We would recommend just taking the bus or Uber or a taxi to campus. And the arrival date is August 16th. So that is actually about 4 or 5 days before. It's 5 days before classes start. So to answer that question, you could come earlier, but the residence halls will open on August 16th. So that's your arrival date, and then orientation starts the next day. So usually that's enough time for students to get settled in and move into their place.
So I would just say some students, so I know we have quite a few US citizens that are coming in the fall. So if you're a US citizen, you can come whenever you want. If you are coming on a J1 student visa, you'll be able to arrive in the US up to 30 days before the first day of classes. So if you wanted to do a little bit of travel before the semester starts, that's definitely an option. If you wanted to come just to Raleigh, I don't know that it's necessary to come super early, but if you like to be here and you want to get settled and you want more than a couple of days, definitely come. It's just that if you are living on campus, you won't be able to get into your room until August 16th. And so you'd have to find an Airbnb or a hotel or something for those days that you arrive early. If you're living off campus, your lease may start on August 1st, in which case you could come whenever your off-campus housing is available. You may not have to pay any extra to arrive early.
Yeah, but it's up to you. And if you have any questions about specific arrival dates, you can contact us or Thor and OIS to talk about that. So on our website, we have a long list of preparing, and then we have a packing list and things that you will need for your arrival. When you are traveling to the US, please have all of your documentation with you on your carry-on. Do not pack that in your checked bag. That's an important part. What is the late? We have another question. What is the latest time you can arrive on campus on that Wednesday? So we will be helping with arrival on that Wednesday, but usually the campus desks will close around 8. There is a 24-hour RA, which is a residence assistant on campus that can let you into your room. You might not get your specific key that night. They will just have to let you in for the night, but someone will be here to help you if you get there late. And we can give you, and once we're closer, we will give you more of the move-in information and anyone you need to call if you get here late. And based off your flights, which you will eventually put into your Pack Abroad, we will see and give you information that that you'll need. Any other questions about arrival? How would I be able to arrange arrival if I decide to live off campus? So basically you would just, whatever transportation you choose from the airport, you would just take it straight to your off-campus housing. You wouldn't need to check in with our office on that day because we're really just helping with move-in. You would just go straight there and then you would come to orientation the next day. And that's how we would get information from you. Sarah, do you have more on that?
I was just gonna say, yeah, you'll need to check with your off-campus housing option if they might have a certain time that you have to arrive. I feel like off-campus housing is more likely to be business hours, like 8 to 5, where you'd have to arrive in order to check in, but they may allow a later check-in if you arrange it ahead of time. But definitely something that you want to be in communication with your apartment complex before you arrive so that you're not stuck without housing on that first night.
Yeah.
Will there be any intro activities specifically for exchange students?
Yeah, so that leads us right into our next slide. We will have orientation for incoming exchange students. So this is a time to learn about campus. You will have to sit through some presentations, but just so you can get all the information you need about NC State and your visa check-in and everything that you could possibly need, all of the resources on campus. So in the last slide, you saw like a picture of our students. That was after a scavenger hunt. They were the winning team. It was just to get acclimated with campus. They got clues, and it was a fun event for everyone. This picture here, this was a tour of we took a tour of our gym, or our wellness and recreation center, excuse me. And it's just a way, the whole orientation is just so you can get as much information about NC State and know where your resources are and how to just best get acclimated with campus.
And we usually have a welcome activity that first night on arrival day. So on August 16th in the evening, we'll have something for anybody, whether you're living on or off campus, just to come meet other exchange students, get to know people. It's optional. Orientation starting on the 17th is mandatory, but that first night, that event, just to get to know other exchange students, is a good first step. And then there's the welcome week that Sarah mentioned earlier, which is tons of events for all students at the university, whereas this is just exchange students for the first couple days.
Yeah, and like Sarah said, we have a WhatsApp group, and usually students will use that to try to meet up and meet other exchange students, figure out things that are going on. Sometimes I'll share events that are going on that would be great for students and things like that. But additionally, if you, all incoming exchange students have this mandatory orientation, but if you are in the Poole College of Management, meaning your major is business administration, accounting, or economics, you will need to do a separate orientation with Poole College of Management, or PCOM, that's what we'll call it, or just Poole. And you should know based off the classes you chose and what your major is going to be with the university. They will also send out information about this orientation. So you will get more information leading up to it. But if you do have any questions, we have drop-in advising Monday and Thursday mornings from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So this is the Zoom link, and we will send out this presentation that has the Zoom link on it. You can also email us at saoincoming@ncsu.edu. That's a great way to get questions answered, but also the drop-in advising is great because we don't have to email back and forth 25 times. We can just hop on a Zoom and figure anything out that we need to. There's also the Study Abroad website, and you can find a lot of information there about your arrival, course enrollment, what you need to start preparing for your time at NC State. And if you have any questions about living or Global Village specifically, email is there as well.
I quickly just wanted to open up our website and show you. So if you guys missed the first two pre-arrival webinars, those are on this page, and I'll be adding the recording for the housing, this webinar, down at the bottom. We've got lots of information here about planning your finances, visa and immigration, course registration, housing, immunizations, health insurance. So this is a great place to go and look. So this is all about things you're doing before you come. We also have a section about arrival and orientation, which we'll be updating once we have the schedule for fall 23 orientation. So definitely check out our website if you have questions. It's a great place to look. But I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. But if anybody has additional questions, we'll stay on so that we can answer those for you.
I'll go ahead and send the link here as well for our